Hey everyone, Dave here with Affordable Door and Gates. I got a great question from a subscriber that emailed me, and I would like to help this person out. So, if you think of anything, please comment below and let's help him out. You know what I mean? Let's see what we can do to resolve or give his mind peace. So first of all, he wants to turn into, from what I understand, it sounds like he works for a company right now, and he's thinking about presenting to them to be a sub. Honestly, it's a great question, and honestly, I've been sitting here putting some thought into it, so I'm going to give you my 2 cents, and we'll go from there. All right, so the first question is, I apologize, I got this pesky cat. Cat just will not stop, like, just keeps meowing. This one is like never wants attention. Now it comes around when I sit down. Never. Can't call it in at night. It's always a joke. All right, so what kind of things would be required of me as far as being legal to do this, like insurance, etc.? So in my humble opinion, first you got to start out with a name, you know what I mean? So right from the get-go, you can just use your name if you want to. You can just use either your full name, you might be able to just use your first and last name. It just depends if your state already has that registered or not. So the first thing I would do is I would just automatically go ahead and get the name out of the situation. If it was me looking back, I might change something, like I wouldn't do affordable. The reason I did affordable was because back in the day, it was to get us in the top of the phone book because they went by alphabet. But we get people now that, that comment, or whatever. Well, I thought you were, affordable. And it's like, well, yeah, we're affordable. We're just not cheap. But I would do something as, I like the one guy in town here. He calls his like JF Enterprise. And I like that because it leaves it very open. If you ever wanted to sell products, you always, Robert Kiyosaki always said, when you are in a vehicle or go down the highway, you always know your exit plan. So you got to look ahead to, and there's things that you're not even going to realize, you know what I mean? So always look ahead. So I like the neutralism of enterprise, something that just leaves it kind of open-ended. So if you're selling wireless TVs or whatever for these new LiftMasters that have the cameras on them, you just got many different avenues versus somebody when they got to write a check and they go, I thought you did garage doors. And you're like, well, I do gates, I do the enterprise, you know what I mean? So it leaves it open. My 2 cents. Also, once you get a name, you get all that established. A lot of times, if it was me, I just go to an attorney. I don't want to deal with, you buy something online, you fill it out, you have a buddy do it. I just don't do that. I try to find somebody that's in town that's reasonable, that people have had good luck. There's nowadays it's so much easier. You got all this stuff online and you can look up reviews, and it's a ton easier than when I did it. You just had to go by word of mouth and looking in a phone book. It was crappy. So anyways, and then once you get that all established, you're good with the city, you're good with, and you gotta, sometimes what you don't realize too, depending on your location, things I didn't know is that anytime you register your business, you put up a flag for you're like a beacon, and what can happen is, depending on where you live, not all of them do it, but the townships now they'll be notified to some degree that if you're letting checks and everything run to your house, they might say, you can't do that. I know at my old place, I started having to have the fire marshal come over. So there's just some stuff to, that you don't know behind the scenes, and then you might have to pay them a fee to be registered in that city or the township that you're in. And some do, some don't, and sometimes it just comes out of the blue. These things, these powers that be like to make up things as they go. So it's just nuts. Once you get everything kind of established, that, I'd get your bank account going, get some money in there, whatever you got to do. And then I would worry about insurance probably about last, for the fact that once you get money rolling, once you start doing a job, then insurance is going to be, somewhat important. And that thing can be, there's so many things I know now that I didn't know then, but the fact that that rabbit hole can go very deep. And what I mean by that is that if you have stuff that you're a good doobie and like to pay things off, that might be a bad thing, because now that everything gets, maybe you put something in the business, and sometimes even personal, it just depends. They can come after your assets. So it's almost better if you're leasing stuff, you're in debt. I know it sounds funny, but it's just the way it is. Because if somebody ever tries to come after you, you don't look like on paper, and that's really like a whole nother video I could spend hours on that. So anyway, let's continue on next here. Who handles callbacks when they arise? So I've had some subs, and when I did residential, I loved the subs, because when the residential would go out, it was like I didn't have to fear that they were going to call me and I had to babysit them. They just were there. They wanted to knock that job out. So there was beautiful things to it. Problem is, and this can go with commercial as well, is that the callbacks almost is like they can never get back to them soon enough. So we had to absorb it. So that became a little bit of a headache. Looking on from here on forward, I'd probably make them do all the callbacks, because and that gets to be a gray area, because sometimes as a sub, they start getting busy and doing stuff, and then they can't do those callbacks. And so it really depends. Now, if you're doing like just new installs, brand new installs all the time for this company or whatever, then I'd say you're probably in good shape, because the beautiful thing about new stuff is it typically, we know this as installers, you can fudge it. You can spray some lube on it, and as long as it makes it over a year or 3, or it's out of warranty. So it also depends on how good of an installer you are. Now me, because I've been an owner for so long, I am always like, I mean, the split collars, and I mean, I'm bulletproofing, you know, don't leave the pull cord too long because somebody could catch it with a roof rack of a vehicle. I mean, I am doing everything, you know, gel connectors, just everything I can think of, because I don't want to go back, because every time I go back, it costs money. So if you seem like you already have a lot of callbacks, you're going to be in trouble. So if you're just doing new installs, you're going to be in a lot better shape, service, most places I've ever went to, when I even went down to Arizona, and that service is really like, that's tough. That's tough to do as a sub, because it gets to be a gray area, because you're trying to submit a bill, and then the bill, it might look too high, or it might, you feel like you should have got more. It's really tough to do that. But new installs, I don't think that's such a problem. I think that could be handled. You know what I mean? All right, let's carry on. Handles. And what is it? Is it more profitable to be a sub for all parties? Which I appreciate that, because that means he's looking out for the company too. So he's not being selfish. And I tell you what, I've met a lot of selfish people that just come in, they look at things and they go, oh, this guy's a millionaire, you know, and they're talking about me. And I'm like, yeah. You don't know how many nights and weekends and holidays when you're out on the boat having fun that I'm out hustling, or I'm catching back up, or I'm back here sharpening the saw or changing brakes. It's a lot of work, So, I don't know on the profitable side. I guess if I was looking at it from me, the beautiful part, if somebody approached me right now, the beautiful part is, I'm going to give you a fixed amount of money, and I already quoted the job for this. So I look at it like what the builder does with me already, you know what I mean? He got the job, received the job, and he, it's my baby now, right? So if the door's making noise, I got to go back. If something's not, so give you an example. One job I just did for him. When I went there, it was beautiful, nothing in the way, right? I come back 3 days later. Hey, I want to step in just for a second, because I was just thinking something while I was editing this video about that whole, when I installed the doors and I came back 3 days later. The reason I came back 3 days later is we had a race going on. And the race was Wayne Dalton going to get there sooner, or was it Clopay for the door sections? And they flippy-flopped. It was like, oh, this one's going to make it before this. And it was just like, just keep them coming, baby. Keep them coming. It was like, it was just like watching the horse track, and you're just sitting there with your money. Come on, baby. Come on. And so anyways, Wayne Dalton won the race. But the problem is we had openers on order with Clopay. So kind of explains why 3 days later I went back. Otherwise, I would have done it all, because I know better to not leave the job until it's done, because when you have access like that and you have the place to yourself and everything's clean, oh man, you just got to go. You got to work till 7, 10 o'clock. You don't come back the next day, because the next day, poof, It might be just something totally different. So that's why 3 days later I came back, and then I was having a nightmare trying to hang my openers. And the worst part was is they were putting up insulation and metal and stuff. And the problem was is that I wanted to get my wires ran up in the ceiling of that before I had to run along steel, you know what I mean? Because that's just not no fun, because you got to drill holes in the rail. It's just more work. It's just more work. So they got more manpower. They can do what they want. If I got to go back and tweak, that's one thing. But that's why I just want to jump in why I went back 3 days later. Continue on. There's insulation. There's like 5 guys in the way that are working. I'm just like, ugh. So I didn't even work that day. I waited till later. I was going to work later at night, like, you know, like 5 to till it got dark, till 10 o'clock at night to get the job done so I didn't have to deal with these guys in my way. And then I was going to do the weekend. I went there on a Saturday. It was still the same. I went back Sunday. The doors were locked. I couldn't get in. I said, forget it. And then I said, hey, when are you guys going to leave tonight? And he whatever, said something. I don't know what he said. But I ended up going there at 1 and didn't get done till 7. So, you know, but here's the thing. The builder, he doesn't worry about that. That's my problem. So that's why you don't have a schedule anymore. So if you're not used to, I mean, like, you know, and the thing is, I didn't get paid extra for my gas. I didn't get paid for working, you know, I didn't get overtime for being there at 7:30 at night. You know what I mean? I just got to fix a dollar amount, and I'm trying to get this job done before they clutter this thing up with more stuff. So, you know, I think it's better for the company. I really do, because if you're on the clock and then you work overtime, that you're just on the clock. So, it's a real hard, but if you're doing commercial and you're doing new installs, I think it's a lot easier to compute. But if you're trying to do service, the service is like, you just got to have a technician that's, we've tried that, and it's just like, you got to have some guys around just to go do it. You can't sub them out. It's about impossible. I mean, the only way I ever see that kind of stuff happen is if you have somebody that's either like retired or almost like disabled, or getting disability, I should say. And then you got to do stuff illegal, and you got to do under the table, and you know, it becomes a big old headache for both parties. So that's my kind of 2 cents. I hope that somewhat helps. I wouldn't be afraid. You know, it just depends on your lifestyle. You know, it depends on, you know, when you're a sub, things can, you know, what happens to us, or my fear always, is that you're going to start getting on jobs, then you can't take care of my job, so I just got to hire another person, and then I'm just going to weed you out. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it goes. Like, I'll use you. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you are very trustworthy, you've been a great person, but sometimes it becomes a headache. You got to make sure it's not one bit of headache, and it's clear. Everything's clear. It's contracts. It's everything. If there's going to be a change order, you got to make that very clear before you proceed. You got to have your own truck, your own gas. I mean, you got to be ready that if they do call you back, you got to jump on it, because that's the hand that feeds you. And if they get flack, you're not gonna work for them anymore. You're not gonna go back, because they just can't deal with that. And so that's kind of my 2 cents. So it can be done. It can be done. I could understand why somebody would want to do it. The freedom, you know, but it just depends on how strong-willed you are. And if you really want to deal with all that headaches, you know what I mean? There's a lot of headaches when you're out on your own. There's, you know, it's not, oh, I get tax returns. No, you know, you know, oh, I get tax returns at the end of the year. I get $1,000 or $2,000. No, it don't work like that anymore. If you don't do your books right now it turns into, you know, you might have to pay in. I mean, there is benefits too of doing write-offs and stuff like that. But, you know, sometimes I look at myself and I just go, sometimes, like when I had part-time jobs, it was so nice to go in there and just sit there, and it's like, what do you want me to do, boss? And they go, I need you to do this. I need you to plow the roads. And I go, which roads? You tell me which roads and what truck, and I'll do the best job you ever seen. You know what I mean? And that was all you had to do. And you just went home. You just left the keys in the truck or whatever. You said bye-bye, have your time card out, and you're on your way. So, you know, a lot of forms of enslavement. And sometimes business stuff can be very enslavement. You know, it looks glamorous, but it can be challenging. So, but it's nice because if you could get a fixed dollar amount and you're comfortable with whatever you can figure out, and I couldn't even tell you where I would start these days with all that stuff, with the amount of money that you pay, because every job is different. Every job, you'd have to go out there. So then you might have to consider that if they get a job, or you're gonna do the job, you got to go out there and look. So if you got a lot of traveling, well, how are you gonna do that? You know what I mean? Or you're just gonna have to go off of what their numbers were and do a percentage. But it's difficult. So it's kind of like right now, I think of it with the builder, what he does to me. You know, he just tells me the job. You know, I can go out and look at it. Well, I can't really do that anymore, but I have to look over the prints. And so then, you know, it's on me now because, and they might feel the same way because you're the one that's detailing it, but yet then it might as well just be, well, you might as well order the product. You know what I mean? And then if the product's wrong, who's going to eat that? You know what I mean? Because you went off the prints. So it's tough. That's a tough one. But hey, guys, please comment below. Let's help this guy out, and let's root for him. So I hope it goes good for you. Either way, it can be done. It can be done. It's just you just have to remember anytime you get off that treadmill, you know, or the easy train in a sense, which is, and there's nothing wrong with it. It really isn't. I mean, I really miss the days sometimes where otherwise you got to think about this stuff 24/7. You go hunting, you're thinking about it. You go to a wedding, you're thinking about it. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so, but yeah. So comment below, guys. Let's help them out. See what we can do. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a good day. I'm gonna pet this cat. This cat's driving me nuts. Have a good day. See ya. Yeah. You better stay here. You wanted all that attention. You better stay here. Every time I make a video, now you gotta be, and this one always rolls in the dirt. Why you gotta roll in the dirt? Don't roll in the dirt. The other kitty's clean. You're always dirty because you're always rolling in the dirt. Say bye. Say have a good day. Claw your leg.